Welcome everyone and good evening. I declare this meeting of the Borough of Queenscliff open exactly on 6:30. So this meeting is being held on the traditional lands of the Wadawurrung people. We acknowledge them as the traditional custodians and pay our respects to their elders past and present. And we also extend this respect to all members of our community. Item 2 is present and apologies. Councillors, we have one apology, is Councillor Brendan Monaghan. And are there any other further apologies? Is it from staff or? No, that's it. Yes. I do. So it's Tim Crawford. So his apology. Thank you. Conflicts of interest. Are there any conflicts of interest to be declared this evening? No. Staff? No. So I wish to declare that I have a direct conflict of interest in relation to item 9.1, Wombat Crossing, Stephen Street, as I am the Vice Chair of the Parish Council of Holy Trinity, Queenscliff. So I'll leave the room for this item when it's discussed. Item 4, leave of absence. There's a recommendation here that Council grants leave of absence to Councillor Di Rule from the 22nd of May to the 4th of June 26. Do I have a mover? Councillor Tolhurst. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Cameron. Sorry. Do we have any opposed? No. Okay. Let's have a vote. Sort of all those in favour? So unanimous, thank you. Public question time. But before we go to public question time, I'd just like to remind people just regarding public questions. Before we begin this, I'd like to briefly outline the process under our governance rules. Questions must have been submitted in writing prior to the meeting, and each person may ask just one question and have time allocated this evening, so responses may be concise or, where required, taken on notice. Questions must be directed to council as a whole and not individual councillors or staff. Also, I also note that I'm required to allow any questions that are outside council's responsibilities, inappropriate in nature, or relates to confidential or legal matters. Where there are similar questions, they may be grouped or answered together. We appreciate your participation and respectful engagement with this process, and I will now proceed with the first question. Thank you. The first question comes from Gail McNaughty. Would you like to read your question? Thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
Yes.
People here? That's fine. My question was, with reference to Royal Park Oval in Point Lonsdale, what are the actual reasons we can't use the Oval as an off-leash dog park when it's not in use for organised sport, which is seldom? In the past, our small dog group has only been told it is for use by sporting groups only. Why are the borough ovals treated differently to other ovals in the Bellarine?
Call the CEO to respond.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor, and hello, Gail. Council made the decision in 2025 with community consultation regarding Royal Park Oval as a sporting and community recreational oval that allow dogs on leash. Also of noting that all councils ensure that there is a balance between maintenance of council grounds and sporting codes. And as we know, that is occurring, and thank you for your question.
What was the answer? Why are we different to the rest of the Bellarine where there's multi-use on sporting ovals?
Oh, the differences. Well, there's two councils. So the other parts of the Bellarine are governed by the City of Greater Geelong. And we're two different councils, and we know if we're one big group, then there will be synergy. But we have two different councils and two different priorities of for the public of our community.
Okay. Just an aside, the Collingwood Football Club, their training ground is able to use as an off-leash dog area.
Thank you.
Don't
Thank
know
you.
why we're so special.
What's the answer? Why?
Thank you. Thank you. Second question from Janice Mackey.
Good evening. Many dog owners would appreciate knowing who utilises Royal Park Oval on a daily basis, for how long and how often.
So-
The Oval seems to be vacant for many days of the week, especially in winter. We ask this in our disappointment with Council declining our request for an off-leash area at Royal Park, as it is the only community oval in Point Lonsdale. Residents do require a mown flat surface in a central position for all, including the elderly, non-drivers, disabled, sick, and those who may be on the edge of community or lonely, making us totally inclusive. All these people have come together, becoming a community within a community, looking after and caring for each other. Have I got another sec? We pick up dogs' doings and others, people's dog doings, as well as the rubbish around the Oval. This is everywhere in the Bellarine, not just the Oval. We are very responsible ratepayers and only ask that we be able to have our dogs off leash 3 times a week, late in the day, maybe 2 hours. This allows our dogs and owners to socialise.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you, and thank you for your question, Janice. Royal Park Oval is available for recreational and sporting to all members of the community. It is used by a number of sporting associations, including the Queenscliff Cricket Club, as a principal alternative ground during matches and for training sessions. Council is currently trialling 2 off-leash open spaces at the reserve north of King Street and Point Lonsdale Lighthouse. A permanent outcome will be decided at the end of the trial, and thank you for your question.
Would you like to follow up? Clarification?
Jane,
No, sorry. No questions. Excuse me. So as I already sort of pointed out at the start of question time, that we have. Sorry. Sorry. No, thank you.
Your information.
So can you please, it's like,
oh,
thank you.
pipe down.
No, it's like,
Over 6 days. There was
Thank you.
overarching support for an off-leash dog park at Royal Park. And I'm really sorry that all of you, except
Jane, Jane's not
thank
aware.
you. So can we'll have to cut this short. I'll have to cut question time then. We'll have to move to the next item. Thank you then.
Stay, darling, stay.
So,
But
thank
Jane,
you.
you
Next.
haven't answered.
So next. No, we only allow
Donnie,
one question.
she hasn't answered my question.
Yes, yeah.
Who uses? Jane, I
It's
just
okay.
said Jane. Look, you pipe down, madam. I'm
No, that's what I'm
speaking
saying.
to
No,
Jane.
this is. You have to address it to the council,
Excuse
as I
me.
said.
Donnie,
Yes, it's-
council. Jane didn't answer my question. Who uses the Oval for how long and how many hours a week? I want all those 3. So
That's
who?
three.
The
That's
cricket?
3 questions. I've said.
It's not. It's 1.
It's 3 questions.
So,
You've asked 3
all right.
questions.
Tell me, the council.
So-
How often do they use it and for how long? Jane, can you just read?
I could take that on notice. It is a multi-use oval, and it's utilised throughout the day. And
By
but
who, Jane?
by dog walkers, by netballers, by cricketers.
No, but you're not. My answer, my question's not being answered.
Move on, thank you.
Donnie,
She's
my
answered-
question's not-
She has answered
She
the questions
hasn't
about
told me
critters.
the hours.
Can you please sit down? We've
She
got.
has not told me the hours.
No, that's one. It's as I said. There's one question. There's an answer that she asked. You specifically asked who were they used?
Yes.
And she in
Who
her
uses
question.
it? For
she
how long?
Well, that's two. Sorry, that is two. That is two questions. Okay. That's yeah. Thank you. Dad, sit down. Thank you.
Seriously, we've gone from bad to worse.
Public question 3, David Conley. Yes, that's it. Okay. So your question 3 is who determined the priorities and the other business cases conducting? No, thank you. Can you please sit down? Yes, sir.
The preceding
No, no.
but it's not shown up on the top of the screen. Can the preamble be read
So,
out?
no, we just, David, you know the rules and stuff, it comes down to we just read the question, not the preamble.
Can I just
Yes,
fill
sir.
in? The preamble relates
So-
to the...
No, David, if you want to, then you speak to. Are you going to come to present? Do you want me just because it comes down to the council will just read out your question.
Well, I'll read out the... you'll have to read the question.
No, David, if you come up and speak, you've got your question and say we.
Well, I haven't got the... I don't need glasses. Page 13 of the draft budget relates to a spend from council, and the message we hear from council is that they have no money, and repeatedly that they have no money. The question related to the fact that $6 million is being allocated to projects. Some of that relates to grant funding already received, but it relates also to new spends, and basically it's asking who set the priorities for the spend. Without community engagement, we note $1.5 million was also spent in terms of allocated to roadworks, which the community hasn't been given any chance of community engagement. So it relates to priorities, engagement, who sets that, and the fact that $1 million is going from Murray Road funds to pay for potentially these $1 million cabins. So it basically gets back to community engagement, priorities, who sets them, how did this come into the draft budget?
So
Thank you.
David, can you clarify your question? So you wanted to determine who sets out the priorities, or the?
Yeah. Well, who set the priorities out for the new projects?
Okay, well, that's
Where
okay.
was the community
Yeah, Dave,
engagement that took place to set those priorities?
One question, David. Gihan, the manager from Finance and ITC Services, to answer.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you, and thank you, David, for the question on behalf of the QCA. So as we understand, I know there are so many questions in that question. So we will prioritize, and we will try to answer the question in relation to how we have prioritized projects, and we will provide you we will take the rest of the questions on notice, and we will provide you a very detailed response. So if you look at total capital work included in the budget, out of 6 million, majority carry forward projects. If you take the carry forward project out for the next year, if you look at only the new projects, it's around 3.1 million. Out of that 3.1 million, 1 million in relation to this investment on 2 new cabins. So if you take that out, it's about 2.1 million, the other new capital project. Of those projects, like 90% of those projects are again asset renewal projects, and how we have identified and prioritized those projects is based on our asset management plan and other strategies and plans that adopted by council. So that's the way we have prioritized and identified those projects.
David, do you have a clarification?
Yes, we have a written script.
But the
The chamber will remain civil to start.
I said I would like a written script. I have a hearing loss.
So, David?
yeah, I think just
Somebody outside who can't hear you.
the $6 million did relate to the combined carryover projects and the new projects. It related to who set the priorities, and we've never seen any of the priority listings in terms of these particular projects in the budget. So it's just clarifying who set the priorities for that, and also noting that monies that are being allocated from Murray Road are ratepayer funds.
David,
Going-
so I can
Yeah,
clarify that. So,
yeah.
you know, in the budget process, so the councillors, you know, brought that with the community consultation and stuff, and in the process that, you know, tonight we're actually going to bring out the papers and giving the details, and there's further community consultation for you to reply to question that, and will be, yes.
Yeah.
So that should.
Yeah, just reading through the submissions, no one's made any deep submission on new cabins, for example. So we don't know where the priorities came from, and who made the decision.
Thank you, David. So we've answered that. Can you go to your next question?
Well, it's going from $1 million going from the
David, no, we've already answered the question. Can you want to go to your next question, or would you like me to read it out? No, this is one question. It's not here to debate. We're here to answer your questions.
But
It's an information session, David.
Yeah, I'm still trying to work out who set the priority.
The
Council did.
Council, yes.
Council. Okay.
Yes.
All right. And there was engagement.
Engagement from councillors to
Yeah,
the officers
for the community.
Right. So that's part of the next process at the budget consultation. Thanks, David.
But it's already in the budget.
No,
Policies and strategies which underwent significant consultation and creation.
Which
no, it's David, thank you.
That's stated in the report, but sorry, Chair.
No, sorry. Your public question number 4, David. Do you want to read it out? In relation to Murray Road court action and legal settlement, how much insurance money was obtained to cover the legal expenses and payout? CEO Grover, would you like to reply, or or
Thank you, Mayor, and through you, David. Okay, thank you for your question. Matters related to legal proceedings are generally confidential and in nature subject to legal and contractual obligation. However, in relation to this matter, we have provided some information in our annual report, as well as we have provided some information in previous council meeting. And there's a new information about the insurance reimbursement that we have received, and you can find that information on page 6 of the quarterly financial report attached along with the agenda item 13.1 of this meeting.
that concludes public questions. Thank you. We move to item 6, confirmation of minutes. 6.1, ordinary council meeting on the 25th of March 2026. There's a recommendation that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting on the 25th of March of this year, as distributed, to be confirmed as an accurate record. Do I have a mover?
I move that as
Thank
a
you.
motion, Councillor Rule.
Yes. Do I have a seconder?
Yes, I will second it.
And any opposed? No. All those in favour? Yep, passed unanimously, thank you. And then item 6.2, ordinary council meeting on the 25th of March 2026 of a confidential minutes. that these minutes of the ordinary council meeting on the 25th of March 2026 confidential as distributed to be confirmed as an accurate record. Do I have a mover?
I move that, Councillor Rule.
And seconder?
I'll second it.
Councillor Cameron. So do I have any opposed? No. Should I have a vote? All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Now, item 7, informal meetings. It's a recommendation that the record of informal meetings of councillors as presented in the adjunct to item 7 be noted. Do I have a mover?
Yes, I'll move it.
Councillor Cameron, do I have a seconder?
Yes, Councillor Rule, sorry.
Is there a motion opposed? No, so put it to a vote. Sort of all those in favour? Thank you. Passed unanimously. Thank you. Notice of motion 8.1 status update. There's notice of motion status update being noted. Do I have a mover?
Yes, you do.
Oh, no, sorry, okay, thank you. Sorry. Notice of motion, there's no notice of motions to be received. Now, item 9, petitions and joint letters. Now, this is 9.1 is the Wombat Crossing, Stephen Street. And then there's the council receives a petition regarding the proposed Wombat Crossing. Now, it's just as I have a direct conflict of interest on this matter, I'll be passing the chair over to the Deputy Mayor Dyrell. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
So just wait.
In accordance with the Borough of Queenscliff governance rules, a petition or joint letter presented to the council must lay on the table until the next ordinary meeting of the council, and no motion other than to receive the petition or joint letter may be accepted by the chairperson. The recommendation is that council receives the Stephen Street proposed Wombat Crossing petition and lays it on the table until the next ordinary meeting of council. Do I have a mover for that recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Tolhurst. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Cameron. All those in favour? Thank you. As part of our governance rules, we invite the proponent of the petition to speak, but in this case, Father Lim's absent, so I'm going to ask Mr. Frank Rice to speak to the petition if he'd like.
Thank you, councillors, for the opportunity to speak to the petition. My name is Frank Rice, thank goodness, and so I'm the chair of the Holy Trinity Parish Council, and I wish to speak to the issue of the petition, which was against the proposal to install a Wombat crossing in front of the Holy Trinity Church in Stephen Street. Such a crossing would have quite devastating effects, we believe, on not only their church community, but also the residents of the street and beyond that as well. The current design would also significantly alter the current character of the street. We agree as a parish community that improving pedestrian safety, particularly in school environments, is important. Ensuring safe crossing points for children and families should remain a priority for the whole community. We're not against the idea of the crossing, we're particularly concerned about this particular one, the location outside the Holy Trinity Church. One of the elements that comes into it, we informed that traffic regulations require a minimum no parking zone of some 15 metres either side of the crossing, which would surely cut parking for churchgoers in front of the church or for people visiting the other residents of the street as well. So that raises a question of where would people attending the Church of Holy Trinity, the school, St Aloysius behind it, or the hall next to the church, where would they park? There's limited parking out the front as it is now, which appears to get good usage. I could perhaps diverge for a moment to refer last year to when the Holy Trinity Church was designated as a place of pilgrimage in the Diocese of Melbourne. This Archdiocese of Melbourne initiative was carried on throughout the world, but in this particular town, there were thousands of people who visited at weekends, bringing all kinds of immeasurable value to the community of Queenscliff and beyond, just by having this as a designated place of pilgrimage. We do have quite a few larger activities occurring there: weddings and funerals, regular church services, and during the holiday season they become quite large. School community events, including where teachers, visitors and parents bring children to school, and other special religious occasions. So our question is, we're concerned about where will the safe parking for these people who are visiting that church community or through the church, where will they be able to park? We don't know whether there has been a scientific inquiry to find how many people actually use or cross Stephen Street when entering or exiting the school. There is always some evidence that it is used, but as to how important it is, we're not too sure, because the main entrance of the school is not in Stephen Street. It's possible that there may be other alternatives which the group planning this has considered, but we would like to reiterate perhaps. Maybe one of the suggestions might be to install speed humps at either end of the church property, which wouldn't disrupt the people attending the church or people visiting residents of the street. We believe that such a move would effectively reduce the speed in the street to less than 20 kilometres an hour. Again, we're not aware of any measurements on speedometers to check what is the current speed. Another alternative, which perhaps goes beyond the school use of crossings, would be to place the crossing at the King Street intersection. Not only is it to reinforce that the whole area in front of the church and the school be a 40 kilometre per hour zone and shouldn't affect with the flow of traffic or force any other disruption to residents in Stephen Streets, we believe that placing in the King Street intersection would also allow safe crossing for pedestrians at all times of the day and night, and not just on school days when the Wombat crossing gets the attention. We are quite concerned that the character of Stephen Street could be adversely affected by this particular move. We believe that it currently experiences relatively low traffic volumes. Again, we don't have figures of that, and that there are very few observed instances of school children crossing at this location. So,
Mr. Rice, are you just about completed? I'm obliged to tell you 5 minutes is up.
Then I take 20 more seconds perhaps. So thank you very much for the time. And as I've said at the beginning, we support the goal of improving safety around schools. We believe though that the Wombat crossing in front of the church is not the most appropriate design at this time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Could we ask the Mayor to return, please? Thank you.
Great. Item 10, functions attended. Do we have any alterations to the...
Yes, I did, Mayor. On the 28th of March, Councillor Tolhurst and I attended the Queenscliff Lighthouse Theatre Group Gala evening.
Any other changes? And so then I move a motion that that Council notes that functions attended with the then noted changes to the report as noted by Councillor Dyrul. So do I have a mover? Councillor Tolhurst? Yeah. Do I have a mover and a seconder?
Yes, Councillor
Rule. So all those in favour? Pass unanimously, thank you. Item 11, CEO report, and we've got a recommendation that the council receives this CEO's report for April 2026. Do I have a mover? Councillor Rule?
Yes, Councillor Rule.
Yeah. Yep. Do I have a seconder? Oh, sorry. Councillor Tolhurst, yep. I'd invite the CEO to speak to the report. Thank you.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor. A number of items I want to highlight. As we know, on the 29th of April, we've got the important community information held by the federal government regarding the full divestment of Fort Queenscliff and partial divestment of Swan Island. There is information about how you register, and we feel it's very important that everyone has that opportunity to listen to what the federal government divestment strategies are and have appropriate questions. Also to this Saturday, a really important Remembrance Day around reflection and the importance of community, and there are 3 services with the Dawn service, the Fort service and the Point Lonsdale service, as we reflect on those people that have shaped this country with great honour and respect. I've got some really great news, and I know a number of people asked me in the street, can you give me some information on the hard waste? And so Stuart came into my office today with some great news. We've got some dates, and it's going to operate over 5 days from the 29th of June to the 3rd of July. More information will be distributed with regard to how the contractor will collect the waste. It is really difficult at the moment to try and get contractors who will collect hard waste. And so we've got a contractor, and an agreement has been signed. So more information on that will be distributed by the comms team in the coming week. And the only other point I want to highlight is Volunteers Week starting what day? It's on the 20th of May, but Volunteers Week is the 18th to 24th of May, and it really is an opportunity for the councillors and the community to get together to reinforce the importance of community service, and also to the service awards are assessed by an independent panel, and they look at the individual that's contributed to our community and groups that have contributed to the community. So thank you.
So, Councillor Rule, do you have any questions?
No questions. I'd like to congratulate you on your first month, CEO, and thank you for all you've done so far. More to come. I'd just like to speak to our excitement about the bike path and receiving that funding, and thank everybody that's been involved in the advocacy for that bike path. Officers, former councillors, current councillors, etc. It's been a huge thing, and we know it's not only great for the young in our community, it's also great for the environment, because Bunny Woods, let's hope, will now not be affected, and the area formerly known as Humps and Bumps, to which I have to admit my brother was one of the first to start it. He's now 61 and he regrets it, and he'll be very pleased that the bike path or park is going in. So really, really pleased, and thank you to everybody. And can I also reiterate what you've said, CEO, about Fort Queenscliff? This is our opportunity to make sure that we all have a say directly to the people who've made the decisions. So 29th of April, put it in your diary, come along, make sure you have a say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry. I also agree this is an excellent report. Thank you, Jane. Really comprehensive. I'd like to touch on acknowledging what's happening in the comms space. I think that's a piece of work this council has been really committed to and continually trying to improve, and reiterate everything Councillor Rule has said, and share my gratitude with the officers and the team that submitted the successful grant for the bike park. We got a knockback previously. It is not an easy thing to do to get funding to that scale, election year or not. And I think it was, a huge amount of work, which is to the benefit of people now and in the future. That's a real legacy project in my view. So thank you very, very much. My question is about how quickly can we get the cash and start building?
Thank you, and through you, Mayor. So we were awarded $490,000 through the Stage Government Local Sports Infrastructure Program, and I would also like to congratulate Stuart for being diligent and pursuing that. The total value of the project is $653,920, and the council will contribute $163,000 to that. Design of the park has been completed. Construction will commence in Q1 27 and will be completed in line with the grants funding by the end of Q2 2027. So we've got some work that's already commenced.
Any further questions, Councillor Tolles? Questions? I've got one question just to the report. Is there anything in this report that requires further direction from council?
No.
No, thank you. Right. Excellent. We'll move on to the next. So are there anybody opposed to the motion? No, I can go to the vote then. So all those in favour? Thank you. Passed unanimously. Item 12, building the borough. The 12.1, the planning permit activity. A recommendation that the council notes.
Just before moving a motion, well, I'll move a motion, but I would like to ask a question. Which do I do first?
Oh, you need to move it to
All
put
right.
it on the table,
Thank
and then
you,
we can
Mayor.
discuss the item. So that council notes the planning permit activity report. Do I have a mover? Yes, Councillor Rule. Do I have
I'll
a
move it.
seconder? Councillor Cameron now we can ask a question to a relevant officer.
I was just wondering if you would be able to keep us up to date in the future. I notice on page 18 that 1 Bowen Road, Point Lonsdale, is going to VCAT. Will you be able to keep us up to date on a regular basis of where that's at? And if you had any more information on that now, I'd appreciate hearing it. Thanks.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Rule, and through the Mayor. The matter at 1 Bowen Road is going to the tribunal. A permit has been sought for the land at 1 Bowen Road, and there was an objector from the land immediately to the north. And it's about view sharing, and there was an exercise to put up a height pole to measure where the planned house was going to be located. And as a result of that, there was a commitment from the permit applicant to lower that building by 400 millimetres. The objector to the north is interested in having that lowered even more than 400 millimetres, and that's hence why we're going to the tribunal to debate that issue. There will be a compulsory conference or a mediation that's going to be held before the full hearing, and I anticipate there's an opportunity where some resolution might be able to be reached through the parties at that mediation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other further questions regarding the planning permit activity report? No, thank you. So we've got a mover, we've got a seconder. Is there any objections? No, we could put it to a vote then, and those in favour of the motion? Passed unanimously, thank you. So 13.1, the quarterly financial report. I've got a recommendation here that council notes, one, that notes the quarterly financial report to the 31st of March 2026, and two, approve the allocation of $50,000 as council final contribution to the renewal works at 29 King Street, which is the QMF Milding renewal works. Do I have a mover? Councillor Tolhurst. Do I have a seconder? Yes. Councillor Cameron. I'd invite the Manager of Finance to speak to the report, if you would. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. In relation to quarter 3 year-end forecast, I'll take the report as read, but I'll provide a very brief update. So when the council adopted the financial plan, the council set a target of 376,000 recurring underlying surplus for the current financial year. And this was based on achieving 262,000 efficiency gain from that planned organizational efficiency review. As we know, though the scope of the review was approved by the council in February meeting, the review has not yet commenced. So as a result, the Q3 year-end forecast now projects only 86,000 additional savings against that original target. So as discussed in the previous quarterly report, those unrealized efficiency gains have been now removed from the quarter 3 year-end forecast. So on that basis, the quarter 3 year-end forecast now projects underlying surplus of 200,000 on recurring basis against that original target of 376,000. The projected accumulated cash surplus is now 825,000 after removing those unrealized efficiency gains, as well as after allocating 50,000 as council's final contribution towards renewal work at QMF building. The other thing I would like to highlight, councillors, as we know, there are some ongoing cost pressures due to some of these geopolitical uncertainties. So these year-end projections still can change, and if there are going to be any material change, so we will provide an update in the future meetings.
Thank you. Yes, can you?
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, Gihan, for that great overview, a really comprehensive report as always. I think it's worth acknowledging that the removal of the financial implications of the efficiency gains don't mean that we're not pursuing them in future. It's just recognising that they won't appear in the report and subsequent reporting. Also great to see the work at QMF closed out. They're doing some fantastic renewals there, which is to the benefit of a council building and to the community more broadly, in an important organisation who work, live and play among us. Thanks. Happy to commend this report for adoption.
Councillor Cameron is the seconder. Would you like?
No, I'm very happy with what Councillor told us.
Is anybody opposed to the motion? No, let's put it to a vote then. All those in favour? Pass unanimously. Thank you. Item 13.2, Annual Plan Update. The recommendation that the Council notes the quarterly report update against the Annual Plan 2025 to 2026 for the period of the 1st of January to the 31st of March 2026. Do I have a mover? Councillor, yes, to have a seconder? Councillor Cameron. Would Council like an officer speak to this item or no? And so if it's no questions? Anybody opposed to the Sorry, can I ask a question? Okay, you've got a question then?
Thank you, Mayor. Did you want to go as the mover? Thank you. The wayfinding strategy, great to see this progressing. It's been on the papers for a little while. Will there be a role for the Urban Design and Public Realm Asset Advisory Group? And can we just confirm that May or not is the period in which we'll be receiving a report for consultation?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the question, Councillor Tolhurst. The timeline for the report to come to Council is currently sitting at the June meeting, so we anticipate that we'll have a draft report that's been reviewed by officers, put up to Council as a draft, indicating that the next step would be to go to an engagement process, and as part of that engagement process, the Urban Design group would be invited to make comment on that plan.
Is that it? Anything else? No. Councillor Cameron? Thank you. No, so
I'm fine, thank you.
Does anybody opposed to the motion? I'll put it to a vote. All those in favour? Thank you. All passed unanimously. 13.2. 13.3, Strategic Projects Report. And we've got a recommendation that council notes the strategic projects report. Do I have a mover? Councillor Tolhurst. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Rule. I invite the officer to speak on the project status then. Stuart?
Sorry, I should have foreseen that and stayed up here. I apologise. I'll take the report as read. This is the second time we've presented the strategic projects report. We've called out a couple of items within the body of the report to report on based on flags within that dashboard. And I'm happy to take any questions relating to the project report.
So, since you're moving, Councillor Tolhurst, do you like to start first?
Oh yeah, I'm going to do a bit of a comment and a question. I love this dashboard, Stuart. It's great to see the additional detail, and I really appreciate the context provided of where a project is either progressing or not, and why that's occurring, and often its intersection with another project. I think that's a really important part of this dashboard and the additional context you provide. We did have some discussion before the meeting commenced about the potential value of combining reports so that there's not duplication and that all that additional context is there in one. So I really appreciate you taking that on board. I wonder how this report can speak to the comms on our website. It's possibly not a question for you and maybe actually for Jane, or to be taken on notice, but just in terms of that intersection of functionality so that our community is getting those great updates and all the context where it's necessary as well.
So there's a comment? No question?
I was just about the comms. Can it be rolled out as a comms update as well?
Stuart, can you
I think the CEO has indicated that, yes.
No, I'll take that on notice, and thank you for the feedback.
Right. Councillor Rule, do you have a question?
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Stuart, I am particularly concerned about the TOC H toilet renewal and the length of time that this project has taken. I understand that, the third paragraph says, on-site works cannot commence until approval of a cultural heritage management plan. And this CHMP includes activities associated with both the Point Lonsdale Maritime and Defence Precinct Restoration Project and the toilet renewal. And I'm asking why the two have been lumped together. And second part of the question, can we possibly take them out so that we don't have to go through the laborious process of CHMP, which has held us up for quite a few years now? We need those toilets functioning. Those toilets are used by many or not used, unfortunately, as the case may be, because they are in such a disgusting state. And it is an embarrassment to have people coming to look at the iconic lighthouse, to walk out on Point Lonsdale Pier, to have to use the lavatories and to go to those ones. Now, there is a provision that we can write to the Premier's office and request that a CHMP be overlooked on a site that has already had a lot of ground disturbance. And I would suggest that something that has been dug up, originally for septic tanks, when I first started using those toilets, which are the same ones, and now for sewage, that ground has indeed been overturned ad nauseum. And I think that we'd have grounds for, in the spirit of the CHMP, requesting that those toilets go ahead separate from the rest of the project.
Thank you for your question. I'll try and work my way through and make sure I don't miss an element to that. So initially the two projects were placed under the same CHMP due to their close proximity and the efficiencies of undertaking one plan for the two projects. At the time, the projects were moving in similar timelines, and it seemed like that we would achieve efficiencies. In hindsight, obviously there's been a challenging pathway for one of the projects, and that's had an impact on delivery of the toilets, or more specifically finalisation of the cultural heritage management plan and the ability for the works on the toilets to begin. If we were to, we're a long way through that process now. I think we're on the final stretch. If we were to pull that project out of the current CHMP process, our advice is that we still would need a CHMP, so we'd be beginning from scratch. In terms of the process that you've articulated in your question, we're happy to review that process and explore that process and provide advice back.
Thank you, Stuart. So just to be clear, we've got, in effect, 3 projects there. One that has involved only, we now know, the 4 P1 huts. 2, the maritime and heritage placement recognition. And 3, the toilets. But all 3 were put together for the one CHMP. What happened with the P1 huts? Did they have a CHMP?
There wasn't a requirement for CHMP due to the fact we haven't broken ground there. In the initial scoping of the project, I think a CHMP had been commenced, but the scope of works changed to remove any groundbreaking, and that abandoned quite some years ago. So the current CHMP was commenced at the time we commenced the works to preserve the World War II structures.
Thank you, Stuart.
Sorry, Stuart, may I ask a follow-up? What might be an interim solution to this, to the challenge we're facing with the timelines, etc., and the intersecting projects?
I understand the current toilet state and that it's uncomfortable to use, and potentially an interim solution is to close those off and provide a portable toilet solution beside those. In the interim, it's expected that this HMP will be imminent. It's imminent, and there's a 13-work window for delivery of the toilet block that we've already gone through a procurement process for. So it's a short-term or short to medium-term solution. It's not a long-term solution, but it may provide more comfort to users. Relief, yes.
Councillor Cameron, do you have any? No? Yes?
Yes. I would just like to thank you, Stuart, for producing this dashboard report, because it is really lovely to have something that gives us a snapshot when we as councillors are always asking where are we up to. This is a snapshot that we get that you continually update. So thank you, because it keeps us well informed of what's happening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect. So, I have a question for you, Stuart. So, are there any risks of cost escalation or delay that council should be aware of on any of your projects?
Obviously, Gihan had identified or spoken to the geopolitical uncertainties, and that's resulted in fuel cost escalations. With some of our smaller projects, we're seeing small levies, fuel levies on those. They're not material, it's quite small. Our larger service contractors' contracts remain under existing conditions. That's not to say that with prolonged impact to the fuel prices, there won't be impact to those contract payments. And we're not seeing any current project being undertaken, as in a civil contract. They're contracted as a lump sum contract without rise and fall. So we expect, if we do have impact, that we'll see that in future projects that are heavily fuel dependent, whether that be transport or bitumen products, or potentially PVC. We're hearing that there's premium on that as well.
Yes. Councillor Raw?
I just had another question, Stuart, back to the toilets. Talking about cost increases, what was the initial amount that was set aside for the TOC-H toilets and what is it now?
It's a good question.
In my 16 months, I can remember it started at 170,000 and I think this year it's up to 220.
I understand that the reserve was set aside at 180 and currently remaining is 160 and
No, I'm talking about actual cost. What is the cost? It hasn't gone down, it's gone up.
Yes, so at the moment the delivery of the toilet is within that 180. Landscaping is now, we don't have the contingency that we would have spent on landscaping, so we'll have some additional costs just cleaning up around the periphery of the toilet once it's finished, is what I anticipate. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other further questions? Thank you. Yes, thank you. I'll put this to a vote. Any opposing to the motion? No, I'll put this to a vote then. All those in favour? Pass unanimously. Thank you. That's 13.3, the Strategic Projects Report. 13.4, the draft budget of 2026 to 2027. We have the recommendation that Council endorses the draft budget of 2026 to 2027, including the proposed schedule of fees and charges and the draft financial plan of 2026 to 2036 as presented for the purpose of placing the draft documents on public exhibition. Two, this will allow until the 4 p.m. on the 18th of May 2026 for the community to provide feedback on the draft documents, and 3, considers a motion to adopt the draft budget of the 2026-27, including the schedule of fees and charges and the draft financial plan of 2026 to 2036 at a council meeting to be held on the 24th of June 2026, having regard to any feedback received. Do I have a mover? Councillor Tolhurst. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Cameron. Invite the Manager for Finance and ICT to speak to the draft budget and to answer any questions from the councillors.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, I'll take the report as read, but I would like to touch on the key headlines of the draft budget. If you start with the economic assumptions again, the budget is prepared on the best available information at the time of preparing this draft document. And as I mentioned earlier, we closely monitor the cost pressures and the impact of these geopolitical uncertainties. The main assumption in relation to CPI, what we have used in the draft budget, RBA February monetary policy update. So there may be another update in May. So when you look at the final budget, we will try to bring in that May update. And if conditions change materially, and we will definitely bring an adjusted budget for councils to consider in the June meeting. So if I start with the overall financial position, so what we see, the draft budget is financially balanced based on those assumptions that we have clearly stated within that draft document. So what does that mean? We have enough day-to-day income to cover day-to-day operating expenses, no borrowings. Council will continue to have a debt-free the balance sheet, and we are maintaining healthy reserves to manage these uncertainties. If you look at the rates and charges, so the rate increase would be within the state government rate cap of 2.75%. Waste management, the residential waste charges will go up by 48, and at the same time, commercial or the vacant land waste will come down by $20. And again, as stated in the draft document, this movement is mainly because of cost allocation correction that we have done the previous year. As a result, what has happened in the current year, residential waste charges is understated. It's not the normal average charges that you see. And the commercial and vehicle land is overstated. So because of that, we see a abnormal increase for the next year. But if you assume that we had correctly allocated expenses over these years, the increase in the residential waste charges would have been only $23, At the same time, there would have been $10 increase in the public waste charges. That's what the vacant land and the commercial properties would pay. So we have provided those details in our draft budget. So if someone read it, will understand the reason behind that the change. In terms of the operating expenses, the total recurring operating expenses are projected to increase by 2.4%, despite the CPI increase of 3.5%, as well as the EBA, Employee Bargaining Agreement, and the employee cost increase of projected increases of 3.5%. Despite those assumptions, the overall recurring expenses are going up only by 2.4%. In relation to the employee cost, again, if you do a like-to-like comparison, what do you mean? If assuming we had the full staffing level for the current financial year, and if we compare it with the next financial year, what we will see overall 0.03% reduction in the employee cost. And this is because of some of the staff efficiencies that we have been able to realize through some natural attritions during the year. In terms of the material and services, again, if you look at the recurring material and services, you will see overall 5.1% increase. This is because of the CPI adjustment that we had to do, as well as in the budget, there are additional 88,000 recurring commitments that we have included. So as a result of that, the recurring material and services expenses are going up by 5.1%. In terms of the operating results, on the recurring basis, what we see very much a break-even budget. So we are expecting like roughly about 70,000 per surplus. So this budget includes one-off operating projects, which we normally do when we have some excess cash. So total into 215,000, but there are some grant funding opportunities. So the net impact would be around 167,000 for the next financial year. So on the LGPRF measure, the budget project underlying deficit of around 133,000. In terms of the capital work, it's about 6 million total capital, the work, what we have included. In terms of the reserves, what will happen with our general reserves? That's what we normally have for us to manage uncertainties. I think we are doing the right thing because whatever the money available, the remaining money we are transferring to general reserve. So as a result, the balance will go up to 1.8 million from 1.5 million. As well as the asset replacement reserve, the overall balance will go up to 2 million as per the draft budget. So 2 million asset renewal reserve means it's more than the 1 year depreciation, as well as almost twice of the asset renewal requirement as per asset management plans. In terms of managing the risks and the uncertainty, because that is a very hot topic these days. So what we have done, we have tested this draft budget against key risks for the short term, particularly we have looked at what will happen if the CPI inflation is going to be more than what we have expected. So what we have seen through those pressure testing that we have done, in the budget we have some contingency provisions. One example, we have around 100,000, assuming we may have to incur some extra expenditure in an event of a storm. I know we are at the mercy of the nature, but still there are some contingencies as such, and there are some discretionary expenses in the budget. As I mentioned, there are one-off project. The net impact is around 167,000, and those are the ones council can even revisit if there are going to be more cost pressures. In addition to that, we have a healthy reserve balance, so it will be around 1.8 million. So what we think those measures will help council to manage the short-term risks associated with these uncertainties. Short to medium term, I know we have been discussing, even the budget talk about this planned service review. So one objective of the planned service review is to identify efficiencies, so that will help us to manage our short to medium term the financial sustainability risks. In terms of medium to longer term, even the budget talks about some targeted investment. Tourist park income is the only own source revenue source where we can make a material impact. So as a result, there's a targeted investment that we have included in the budget, because this council desperately need another additional income source to maintain the long-term financial sustainability. So as a closing remark, this budget keeps the council in a stable position while we navigate through these challenging conditions. It is a cautious balance focused on essential services and renewing assets with targeted investment for long-term financial sustainability. Thank you.
No, I'd just like to speak to the motion when the time's right.
Councillor Rule, do you have any questions? Can I just ask one question regarding the services and trade-offs? Have any service reductions or deferrals been necessary to achieve this position?
In the budget, thank you, Mayor, for your question. In the budget, we have not budgeted for any reduction in our service level, but in fact, there are some increases, improvement to service level. So that's what I mentioned about that additional recurring expenses. It's because of some of the increases to the current service level.
Like we asked for extra,
The
high pressure
yeah,
washing, Main
yeah.
Street, things.
Vegetation management. Yeah.
So, thank you. So, going to open up for the debate then. Thank you. We've got the movers, Councillor Collins.
Thank you, Mayor. Might just wait till the dulcet tones of the rolling sea. Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Gihan, for that fabulous presentation, for wrapping that really strong narrative around a really difficult place we find ourselves in at this current moment, like locally, in the sector in Victoria, local government across Australia, and of course that the global uncertainty you mentioned does have a bearing even down here in the little borough, and I think you've done a marvellous job for both the numbers and the narrative to acknowledge that. There's been considerable effort this year by officers and councillors alike, in my view, to improve and refine the budget development process, notably by the comms team. So my thanks go to them for moving the consultation period earlier in the year, so that the substantive work of considering what community expects from a budget is done earlier rather than later. I look forward to continuing to improve this and getting right out into community orgs and on the front lines, but certainly this is a different and an improved process in my view. The highlights, many of which Gihan touched on in the budget, are a projected break-even result, a continued position, and I think I've been in the fortunate position of saying this for 5 budgets now, 4 at least, no borrowings and no debt. Like, how many councils can say that in 2026? The operating and capital projects I'm really excited to see delivered, should the budget be adopted in its current form, or at least see out into the community for consultation, are the new cabins, the $1 million. This is an investment, in my view, that's an important one for council. It's consistent with policy CP044 that requires the proceeds of the sales of land, that is Murray Road, to be used to invest in projects that generate additional revenue streams for a council that has very few other abilities to generate income. That's money well spent, in my opinion. $100,000 going to the Bellarine Statement of Planning Policy implementation, a collaboration we've committed to with Geelong, again assuming the budget is adopted, and this is significant action. That's strong advocacy and a good outcome for the community, in my view. $30,000 for solar panels on the Queenscliff Tourist Park amenities block, and $574,000 in council and grant funding will be pursued for Waroona Parade public toilet renewal, including a changing places facility. This is the Gold Star accessibility toilet or facility, and one that's been long fought for by our lived experience disability group. I'm also looking forward to seeing some money invested in the Town Hall roof. It's a big project. This is probably going to be the beginning of something larger, and that's acknowledged in our long-term financial plan, but this is where the custodians of this venue, and it serves many in our community, so I think it's an important investment at the right time, and an overall healthy balance in this budget of council-funded, grant-funded, new, renewal and upgrade projects. In my view, it's a budget that's been built collaboratively, considers community feedback, it's sensitive to the limited resources locally and constraints imposed by the sector and by global turmoil, but it is still committed to getting stuff done for the community. I have really enjoyed building this budget with my peers. I do think there's a lot that's there. That's a good thing for a council to be doing with its community. So really the last little bit, given it's a draft budget and there's still a wee window for consultation, is did we get it right? You know, we've done that heavy lifting at the start, so I'm really keen to hear from people if you think we got it right. I really happily support the draft budget and the draft financial plan for release for the purposes of consultation, and thank you to all involved in putting it together.
Sorry, Mayor, could I just speak to part of what Councillor Tolhurst mentioned then? Sorry, Councillor Tolhurst, just a small correction. The $100,000 is not for the review of the Ballerine SPP. Remember, it's to go towards the application for rezoning of the particular piece of land that at the moment Coles is saying they're going to build a supermarket on. It is purely $100,000 that we've agreed, up to $100,000 that we have agreed to pay towards rezoning.
Perhaps we move a motion that just revises the wording of that item in the budget. I think it's still saying SPP implementation review. I'll double check, pardon me if I've got it wrong, and thank you for the clarification.
Thank you,
it's a great addition and an important recognition of what the money would go to. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron? Councillor Rule? Now, just then, if there's anybody opposed to the motion, I can now put it to the vote then. All those in favour? Thank you. Pass unanimously. Item 14, questions without notice. 14.1, questions without notice, status update. There's no questions without notice are outstanding. Item 14.2, questions without notice. Councillors, Councillor Tolhurst, do any questions without notice?
Thank you, Mayor. My question is to you or the CEO, and that's just providing an update, please, on the work of G21, which you both member, and any planned advocacy ahead of this year's state election.
Through you, and thank you, Mayor, and thank you for that question. For those that don't know, G21 provides strategic advocacy for state and federal governments regarding decision-making for the region that we're in. There is a meeting this Friday in Colac, which the Mayor and myself will attend. At the moment, the priorities for the borough have been transport and connection and to and from the regional area and to Melbourne, also looking at flood impacted areas and drainage, in particular Queenscliff. At the Assembly meeting in 2 weeks, we'll discuss with the councillors a particular project that we want G21 to advocate for us. We are the smallest borough and we need to make sure that whatever the councillors believe is best aligned to their annual plan is advocated and going in with one large project rather than lots of small projects. So I'll know more on Friday, and thank you for that question.
Thank you.
Thank you. If I may just take the opportunity, you mentioned transport links and advocating for that. That's been a long-standing regional advocacy issue. May I also thank you for the letter written or submitted to the Bellarine Peninsula Bus Network Review, tabling the borough's concerns about the current status of public transport in the region. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I did have a question without notice,
Yes.
Mayor, is that all right? My question without notice regards advocacy for the City of Greater Geelong to consider looking at the rezoning earlier than the July that they spoke about, to review the SPP. Would CEO or the Mayor like to tell us what has happened with regard to writing to the City of Greater Geelong to let them know that we would like to bring that forward earlier than July?
Thank you, and through you, Mayor, thank you for the question, Councillor Rule. Yes, there's been there's been some correspondence between the City of Geelong and the Borough of Queenscliff. What the Mayor did was a really smart move in the letter and saying week commencing 20th of April, our town planners need to get together. There was an initial consultation this week, but there is a set meeting between Byron, who you met this evening, and Anne-Marie to meet with the senior planners next week to discuss this matter and have a strategy and a framework for moving forward. So I need to say to the community that the councillors are taking this matter very seriously, and it's a little bit of an oversight on my report that I didn't include that, and thank you for highlighting that, Councillor Raw.
Thank you, CEO.
Councillor Cameron, any?
No, I'm fine.
Thank you. There's no other further questions. We're item 15, list of council meetings. We have a planning review meeting on Wednesday the 13th of May scheduled on 2026 at 6 p.m. if required. The next ordinary meeting of council, Wednesday the 27th of May 2026 at 6 p.m. here at the Queenscliff Hub, is penciled in. So, and then item 16 then, there's no further business. I declare this meeting closed we are at 7:45. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.